Is 8 o'clock on the dot. I'm West 2 first warning meteorologist Eric Burris, and this is Coffee Talk, where we get together 7 days a week in the morning to chat about what's going on in the world of weather. Like yesterday, today's going to be a busy Coffee Talk because we're going to be talking about Lee's impacts up to the north, but before we do, let's just take a live look outside and see how beautiful things are here in Central Florida. Definitely have been seeing the wave action picking up. Doesn't look bad from this tower cam perspective, but it's a little bumpy out there across our beaches. Rip currents, rough surf, the whole nine. We're even watching a few showers. Here's our live first warning Doppler radar. The good news is that those showers are kind of behaving and keeping off the shoreline. So that's an optimal situation for sure. Definitely like the look of that much better than if it was bothering us this morning. Temperatures out the door looking nice, looking warm. 79 in Orlando, 77 in Leesburg, 73 degrees in Ocala. It's 78 degrees in Daytona Beach. So the forecast then for today, looking great to start us off. But yes, we do get into some of those thunderstorms a little bit later into the day, 40-50% coverage of showers and storms. Now, I will say that we're going to talk more about our local forecast because we need to time it out. But I do want to be respectful to WMTW meteorologist Ted McInerney. He's busy up there in Portland, Maine. He's tracking storms, and his availability window is fairly tight. So before we even get to him, let's just take a look at his broadcast on TV to the folks that live in Maine this morning. We'll start there, and then we'll talk to him live. Let's take a listen.
All right, good morning, everyone. Here's the latest on Hurricane Lee. Category 2 storm still at this point, 100-mile-an-hour winds gusting to 120. It's still doing its north movement at 9 miles an hour. It's about 295 miles south of Bermuda, southwest of Bermuda, and it's moving right to the north. It's look at the expansive wind field. The clouds are way. It's not just a one little circular storm anymore. It's being pulled right up into the trough, bringing it right north, and that's what's happening. So let's talk about it. So when you look at the cone, what we call cone of uncertainty, that's really the track of the center of the storm. And that is the worst of the storm, no doubt about it. But you can watch here, look how expansive the wind field is. That's a huge storm, folks. Watch when it comes into the Gulf of Maine. So yes, you can see the track of the eye of the storm going right toward Nova Scotia and the Bay of Fundy. And you say, oh, it looks like a mist. But look at the whole purple area. That's showing winds gusting to 50 miles an hour, which will knock out power. So when we go in for that landfall, you can see that southern Maine and mid-coast areas, especially down east areas, are really in on it. Tropical storm force winds. But even inland areas, you're looking at gusting to 40 to 45 mile an hour winds will be an issue. And then you can see by Sunday afternoon, things dramatically improve. So here's the track from the Hurricane Center. Weakens to a Category 1 tomorrow. As it enters into the Gulf of Maine, it's a tropical storm, a strong one, 70-mile-an-hour winds, and it makes its landfall somewhere near Nova Scotia, but it could make landfall in down East Maine. So anywhere in this cone from Halifax to Bar Harbor means that's where the landfall could be, but the impacts are much greater. Let's take a look at the hurricane force wind probability. 74-mile-an-hour winds or greater, that's really Nova Scotia. But there's a chance in down East Maine. Now, tropical storm force winds, you can see all the way to York County, even Boston. So that gives you an idea how big this storm is, too. Wave heights, that's something we've been talking about. This is going to bring in some huge waves starting tomorrow afternoon, Saturday morning. Look how fast they get up there. We're looking at 35-foot waves in the Gulf of Maine, 15-foot waves out in Jonesport, 13-foot waves Owl's Head, 10-foot waves in Portland, offshore from Portland. That's going to be some big high surf, beach erosion all across the Maine coast. So unfortunately, coastal flooding around 1 p.m. on Sunday and Saturday, 1 p.m. Saturday and 1 a.m. Sunday as well.
All right,
Ted McInerney from our sister station WMTW, and I'm grateful to have him joining us live. So, meteorologist Ted McInerney, good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Eric. I'm glad to finally get on your coffee talk here. I don't have a fresh cup of coffee. I haven't had time to get one, though.
Listen, you have been a very busy person, so it's okay. I can ship one up to you, my friend.
Might be a little cold by the time it gets here.
That's a good point, unless you like iced coffee. That's a good point. So do me a favor. Just tell me kind of what Mainers are looking at with this storm. We just watched your broadcast this morning.
Yeah, well, we're looking at a pretty good term from the center of the storm, which is good news for the brunt of the storm. But really, it's when you get up to these northern latitudes, very different from what you guys deal with down in Florida. We start to interact with the northern latitude storms, and so these storms are going to kind of explode in size. So it's not the narrow, compact, tropical type storm that you're dealing with in Florida and down in the south. So we're dealing with an expansive wind field. So when we look at the cone, it's not just the cone getting the impacts, as you know, it's beyond it even in Florida. But we're going to have that wind field looking much bigger than the tropical type wind. So you're seeing the tropical wind field there for down east Maine. That's what we call it's down east Maine, out toward Acadia National Park and Bar Harbor, out toward Calais and Machias. But what we're looking at in southern Maine, Portland, Maine, down toward Old Orchard Beach, down toward Portsmouth, New Hampshire, it's going to be winds that are like 35 to 35 is not bad, but we could get up to 55-mile-an-hour wind gusts for several hours because of that wind field. Yeah. And so we could see that tropical storm force winds from 10 a.m. all the way up till probably even 8 p.m. But it's the surf here. Obviously, the Maine coast is nice and rocky out toward down east areas and huge ledges, but we're still dealing with a ton of beach erosion when we're talking about 14-foot waves, even 22-foot waves out down east. So that's the concern here with beach erosion out here, because we've had those nor'easters, and when we get the nor'easters here, people don't realize they're kind of in a nutshell, I don't like saying this, and you'll probably nod your head too, a winter type hurricane, because we get storm surge, we get gusty winds and power outages with them. So we get these beach erosions all the time, and we had a huge nor'easter last year that some places were devastated with the worst beach erosion we've seen in years. Yeah. So those areas are really exposed in it.
So, well, and it's funny. I'm not going to shake my head at all, because that was literally what I really wanted to know is, okay, so this has got a name, but you are no stranger to these coastal storms. Will this rate as a higher impact than your run-of-the-mill nor'easter, or is this kind of just like, oh, it's an early nor'easter, essentially, minus all the blowing snow?
That's a good point. I think the issue now is we actually have all our foliage. By the time we usually have those windstorms, we either are at the tail end, they're beautiful colors and we lose them early, and the leaves are ready to fall off. But now the leaves are not ready to fall off right now. So we have a little bit of weight to things. So that is an issue. I think we've had such a tremendously wet summer up here in Maine, especially early on, and we had a really wet week. We had a ton of rain yesterday. So the ground is very saturated, and difference also, we don't have the palm trees that are used to tropical storms. Right. We have a lot of very tall white pine trees in Maine that have very shallow roots. So it doesn't take much of a stiff wind to blow them over. Yeah. And we have that a lot with severe thunderstorms up here in the nor'easters. So now you have the soggy ground, 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts for several hours. Right. We're looking at a massive amount of power outages in Maine, especially along the coast. Yep. During the day on Saturday.
Now, there's a lot of like seasonal residents as well. Do you think that folks that are, well, I guess it's September by now, like they've probably already moved out. I mean, you've got your Mainers that are there still. It's not like the snowbirds are still there.
The tourism season never ends in Maine. No, really, it's still going hard, tourism up here, and we're transitioning into the leaf peepers. So
that's a good point.
And they're not quite there yet. We're not at foliage now, but cruise ship season, everything. So Maine, I mean, you go down on Commercial Street in Portland, which I know you went to this summer.
Yeah.
It is rocking and rolling still. And really, to be honest with you, tourism season kind of like, it's bustling in the summer and fall. And then it kind of winds down a little bit in the January, what we call local season. I guess Florida has local season too, right?
Yeah, we do. Well, right now is like the perfect time to go to Disney because everybody's at school. They'll be back though very soon. Okay, so what's your biggest concern then? I mean, for me as a Florida guy, I'm like looking at a tropical system. I know they go up there. I know you guys get hammered in the winter storms. Is there something that you're kind of trying to tell your viewers or the folks that are there, like, hey, heads up on this. It's not just, a weakening system.
Yeah, I mean, it's unprecedented what we've had. The last landfalling hurricane in the state of Maine was Hurricane Gerda in 1969, and it didn't really do much damage. It was Eastport, Maine, with 80-mile-an-hour winds way out, almost New Brunswick, Canada.
Right.
So what we're looking at with this is, it's coming. The other thing is the track usually kind of, has made landfall several times and kind of comes up through the Cape and kind of coming into an angle into Maine. But this one's coming straight into the Gulf of Maine. I got to say Gulf of Maine for you guys. So Gulf
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Maine.
we love that. Yeah, yeah.
And so we're seeing surge and waves and the tropical characteristics are staying put, which is wild. That Hurricane Lee's been around for over a week and a half, and it hasn't made landfall.
Right.
So we're looking at its first landfall coming up.
It's been annoying to track such a slow, long track thing.
Yes.
Are you doing anything at your house to prepare for this, or is it just kind of one of those? Yeah, it's going to be gusty, but we'll be okay.
Yeah, you got to lock down things. I know a lot around here. We're telling residents and everybody they make sure they gas up the generators because we do lose power quite a bit.
Yeah.
Other than just your patio furniture that in Maine unfortunately goes away in a couple of weeks. Anyways, we're doing it a little early.
Right.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, it's just really the beach that we're concerned about the most.
Yeah, very good. Anything else that you'd like to add before I let you go? Because I know you have a radio hit coming up in a minute.
Yeah. No, we're a little busy here, and we're hoping that the turn keeps going because. With the tropical rain bands, as you guys could know, it just takes a little bit of heavy rain over and over, a band followed by another band to really kind of get that flooding going. So we're worried about that. But it does look like a good chunk of the rain core is moving with the core of the storm. Yeah. So we like seeing that. But the wind field, though, is what we're worried about the most.
It's a massive wind field. Very good. Ted McInerney, my friend, we will chat soon. And sidebar, if you need anything from me, you let me know. Okay, bud?
You know it, man. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Be good.
Take
Bye.
care.
All right, that was meteorologist Ted McInerney with our sister station WMTW up in Portland, Maine, tracking a hurricane heading in, which is odd. So as he had mentioned, and it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Like they get those winter storms, but as a Floridian, it's so interesting to hear the local concerns there, right? Like the fall foliage, the leaves on the trees have not come down yet, so it makes perfect sense. I just would have never thought about that myself. So I love meteorology. You always learn. So this is the latest forecast from the Hurricane Center, the 5 a.m. cone. And you can see Saturday afternoon, it's approaching that kind of corridor there. And Maine, the down east there, is in the cone of confidence on the left side. Oh my gosh, Taylor says, I'm glad we got to be at the TED Talk. I've got to believe that the man has heard that like 1,000 times. But it's going to be an interesting scenario, at least for Ted and at least for AJ over in Boston, whom we spoke to yesterday. They should be on the kind of weaker side of the storm with the offshore winds. Now, Halifax and the rest of Nova Scotia, back over to the Bay of Fundy, may have that onshore wind. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Because, and if you're not familiar, okay, the Bay of Fundy, which on this map is located, if I can click the button, the Bay of Fundy, which is located right in there, has the highest tide cycles on the planet. I know in the hemisphere, but I believe it's in the planet. So it's I mean, you're talking a 50-foot rise and fall. So, it'll be interesting if that's on the right side of the storm system. You could be really piling up some surge. But, yeah, kind of interesting. And he had talked about cruise ship season. We were up at Bar Harbor, which is in the down east, which is like right there-ish. We were in Bar Harbor this summer. Which, if you've never been, I mean, Maine blew me away. Like, I was so sad we had to leave. We had to leave early. I was planning on getting to hang out with Ted. Didn't get a chance to. I got to hang out with his chief for a little bit. But anyway, Maine will blow you away. It is absolutely incredible. It's beautiful. Lots of beautiful trees. But yeah, the leaves are still on the trees. And as AJ was mentioning yesterday, they had such a significant rain event the last few weeks. So certainly, an impactful deal there. At least Lee is going in weaker, UConn says. But as Ted had mentioned, and it's true, the wind field around Lee is just expansive. I mean, look at this, for example. I mean, if we just put the distance tracker on this, and this is 2:00 Saturday afternoon, tropical storm force winds almost 500 miles. I mean, that's remarkable. That is a remarkable size of a storm. And so that makes sense that that's a concern. So There it is. Beverly says, Ted mentioned Jonesport in his forecast. That was my part-time summer hangout when I was a kid. It's beautiful up there. And thankfully, this is not, going in as like a major category 5. I mean, not that it would, but thankfully it's not going in as a major hurricane. And as a matter of fact, just as Ted had mentioned, the expectation is that it starts losing its tropical characteristics. So that's the deal on Lee, okay? All right, let me do this. Today's a little discombobulated, but I did it because I wanted to chat with him, and he basically said, I got you from 8:05 to 8:10. He had a radio hit at 8:15, and so I said, all right, we're gonna move everything around for Coffee Talk. So we're gonna pause the tropics, okay, and we're gonna come back local, and then we'll look at the rest of the tropics. All right, does that sound good? I know it's a little discombobulated, but that's okay. So let's talk a little bit about our local forecast, and then we'll get back out to the tropics. Okay. So for this afternoon, a couple of thunderstorms. Not expecting anything to be too wicked crazy. Look at that. I'm like a New Englander here. Just kidding. I talk that way no matter what. All right, let's take a look at Futurecast for today locally. And we are starting beautifully, but into the afternoon, we're bubbling up some showers and storms, eventually working it off to the west. There's going to be some heavy soakers around. But look at the trend over the next couple of days' time, okay? Because we're getting into a particularly stormy pattern, all right? 50% coverage of rain today. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're raising that rain coverage just a little bit. We don't, we had like a 70% coverage, 80% coverage yesterday. We've adjusted it to 60. We just kind of have to watch and see how it all plays out, right? Jan says we're flexible. Thank you. I mean, I expect that flexibility. I expect it. Dagnabbit. I expect it. Could I dance again? No. When have we not been discombobulated? That's a good point. Alicia's asking about hail in the forecast. I think when it comes to hail, I mean, you could get an isolated amount, but we're not really looking at anything mega. So that's good. That's good. Yeah. All right. So that's kind of where we're at for football forecasts for our Friday night football. We've got this great game, Leesburg and the Cowboys, a couple of thunderstorms around for us. We've got for tonight, Jones and Edgewater. Rain's clearing, looking pretty good. And then for tonight, Seminole and Evans looking pretty good as well. I think that the coverage of rain is going to go up just a little bit. But, of course, we've also got this weekend some college football over at the Bounce House. Villanova and the Knights coming to town. It's going to be, Villanova coming to town to play the Knights. Showers and thunder showers for tailgating. I'll be out there. So if you're out there and you see me, say hello, please. Yeah. And then I'm going to be doing the forecast at the game on the field. Don't tell anybody. So, pregame if you're going. But either way, it looks like things are going to be getting better and better for the game itself. That's certainly good news. Gotta love that. UF's forecast up at the Swamp, showers and storms clearing through tailgate, getting better and better for the game itself. And then I got to tell you, this FSU game is not great. You like that, Bruce? This FSU forecast is going to be interesting. Like, of course, the Seminoles are going to where there's going to be a hurricane. Like, of course. Oh, boy. So, there's that. Some showers, some storms around. Down goes Rocky Top. Oh, Frank. That UF game is going to be a lot of fun. Is it number 11 ranked, Tennessee? Is it? I don't know. The only reason, listen, my dog in this fight is I don't even know. I'm going to be excited, obviously, for the UCF game, but I love watching Coach Norville. There it is. So there's that. Meanwhile, okay, so that's had to do the football stuff. Meanwhile, back here at home, we're looking good, with the exception of the rain and with the exception of like the building surf. That's from today. Hold on a second. That's the wrong graphic. Oh, this is the graphic I meant to click. My apologies. That was from yesterday. Ignore that. So for today, tonight, even through tomorrow, big rip current concerns. So just keep that in mind. It's not great to head out that direction. Okay? All right. That's it for local. Any other questions before we go back to the tropics? Any other questions? I'm glad I don't need a MoneyGram from anyone while in Vegas. Why? I don't even know what that means. How's it looking later in the day on Saturday in Claremont? My daughter's 13th birthday at 4. So let's dial up Futurecast. Saturday and Sunday around 4 out west. It's not going to be perfect. Saturday. Let's start with Friday. We can even do that. All right, so here's Friday. So this is tomorrow for you. We're looking nice. Okay. Look at all those storms. Tomorrow, definitely an increase in overall coverage, and then eventually kind of working out to the west. And then into Saturday we go. Nice start. Around lunchtime, we start to see some showers popping. Would you say 4 o'clock in Claremont? It'll be okay, but there will be some storms firing up afterward, like dinner time. Like, look at that, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, something in that area. So, yeah. Debbie, did I do the hourly for today? I did. Off the top, I did. But for you, Debbie, we can do it one more time. Chris says Lake Mary High School plays Lake Owl. Oh, that's fun. Today? That'll be fun. Yeah. All right, so there's today's forecast. All right, any other questions before we go back to the tropics? We'll get back out there and see what else is doing. What does it look like in Auburn, Maine for Saturday? Possible tropical storm conditions, yeah. I used a smoker yesterday and got caught in a downpour. It worked great. Getting a pop-up canopy for next time. Delish ribs and chicken. Oh, Shauna, that sounds good. I like that. In the words of T-Pain, I like that. All right. To the tropics Oh, my God. To the tropics we go. So there's Hurricane Lee on the left side of your screen. You've got Hurricane Margot on the right side of the screen. They're doing their things. And then on the kind of bottom right, we've got something else. That's Invest 98. Who else loves the term leaf peepers? I know, right, Jason? I heard that and I was like, that's funny. Truth be told, though, we were up in Maine in the summer, and all I could think of the whole time is like, I need to get back up here and check out these leaves. All right. Invest 90. I believe that's Invest 98. Hold on a second. No, it's Invest 97. Why is my brain not operating? Good gravy. Okay, I misspoke. My apologies. Invest 97 has a high 90% likelihood of developing over the next couple of days. Expected to become a tropical depression over the next day or so. The good news is that as it does its thing, here's the forecast models. Expected to recurve and not be a huge problem for us. So that's good. That's good. Come for the leaves, stay for the lobster roll. Yeah. If I could just get time off. I mean, I'm off like now, but weekend off where I can spend time with the family. That's the whole thing. Laura says, we're going to Tennessee at the beginning of November, and all I know is that some leaves better be changing because I've never seen a true fall. You had better see it. Okay, Audra says, just looked, high tide for the Bay of Fundy is 1:34 a.m. Sunday, which means that it's also 1:30-ish Saturday afternoon. And based on the model data, Saturday afternoon it's going to be making its approach. So, I have to see how that plays out. Oh yeah, Cindy, Debbie, drink, sorry. All right. So that's where we're at. What else you got? We laughed, we cried, we talked to Ted. It's a good day. Vermont and New Hampshire are better for leaf viewing. New Hampshire has white birches. Is that? See, I'm not a tree guy, like an expert, so I just don't know. I just don't know. What kind of winters does El Nino typically bring to Florida? Okay, that's a good question. So, I'm just going to trick question. All right, so El Nino winters. Temperatures should be close to average. All right, that's great across the southeastern United States. But come winter, you didn't think that we were going to have all these graphics ready for it. Why does that have a hurricane background? Hold on a second. Like, why? Hold on. I know this is my ADD, but this is what happens when I'm the graphics guy and I see something absurdly absurd. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. Now I have to find a cold background. All right. El Nino impact. Kellyanne's going to see this graphic update and is going to be like, what did Burris do? All right. Same graphic, just with a better background. So in Central Florida, come El Nino, wetter than normal. But because those jet streams typically throw further south, you get a higher likelihood for severe weather. Okay, basically that jet stream just pushes further south. So we get more of those storm systems working in and they have more energy. And when we talk about El Nino winters, we think of the 98 tornadoes. We think of the Groundhog Day '07 tornadoes, that sort of thing. I'm the Abe Froman. I just love, thank you, Mike, for getting that. I saw your comment yesterday, but he was mid-sentence and I wasn't able to revisit it. But thank you for being, but thank you for getting the Abe Froman thing. Thank you. So anyway, there you go. The brief second I saw snow isn't ruled out. No, it's just the background. Y'all calling me out. All right, it's because I found the first cold background. I'll get something better. Hold on. You guys calling me out on my imperfections. There's only I've got cold sun. Is that better? Cold, I got coffee cup, cold pets. But see, then you're going to say, oh, it's snow. What do I do? What else do you want? I'm just looking around for what other backgrounds are cold. See, the problem that I run into, I've made hundreds of these daggum backgrounds, but what am I going to do how do you show cold? The generic cold one that we use in Central Florida all the time is cold sun. We've got hot sun is orange, okay? This is sausage. Hot sun is orange. Cold sun is blue. What else are you going to put? But because it's talking about stormy weather, so maybe I put lightning background in. Would that work? I could put a tornado in there. What will make you happy? Probably lightning, right? Here. El Nino impacts. There's your lightning background. Everybody happy? Are you thrilled? There it is. How about fall leaves? But it says winter. So Laura says there's a dog, so it's forgiven, right? Right? Oh, man. Oh, my. I didn't know the difference. No, I listen, if you only saw my database of backgrounds that I've made for stations, you would laugh. And you also laugh. There was one, it was like an ice jam in a river, and I bought a stock image. I bought an image that we have in our database. And AJ, yesterday, the guy that we talked to yesterday, AJ's like, hey, Burris, there's a cigarette on one of the ice jam things. And I'm like, what? And I looked, bought the image, didn't even realize there was a cigarette on one of the chunks of ice. So I had to go in and Photoshop it out. Hey, Gewalt, what are you going to do? For cold use, I do have icicles. No, I do have icicles. But for this background, at least. Alex says, media is all about fear. I'm logging off. Okay. Good luck trying to make everyone happy. I know. I have 28 television stations now to make happy. Although I'm only doing graphics for 26. We haven't gotten Fort Myers on our graphics package yet. Yet. Yeah. Cold, make a graphic of socks with Crocs. My old news director hated it. It was very funny. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, that was a good question, though, because at the end of the day, once hurricane season's done, y'all, this is what we're heading into, a higher risk for severe weather. Oh, my God, Taylor. Hopefully Alex has the day he deserves. Ooh, that's intense. Whew. Loving all these guests this week. But question, when do we get Marquise on Coffee Talk? He's still not official. That's a good point. Yeah, well, I asked him and he was like, you mean I have to wake up early? So I have to. Yeah. CBS in Vegas, owned by another stakeholder, uses the same local live theme as West. Do you mean like this, the branding statement or the music? I get in trouble saying what I actually. Nah, Taylor, I love you for it. Keep being you. Keep being you. I will email you some graphics. Of course. All right. Any other questions? Anything at all at 8:32 on a Thursday morning. What is severe weather post-hurricane season? Bad thunderstorms, Claire's asking. Yeah, tornadoes. Yeah, I mean, bad thunderstorms. But in an El Nino year, because the jet stream wants to move further south, what you end up with is you've got more energy upstairs, and you get into thunderstorm concerns. That's where we're at. Get more into the tornado concerns. 98 tornadoes, 07 Groundhog Day tornadoes, that kind of a thing. Yeah, the more powerful stuff. Branding statement and Weather Rate, but not owned by her. I mean, Weather Rate's an independent organization. We have nothing to do with them. They rate everybody. And branding statement, anybody can use it. But, the graphics and the music we own and we make. Yukon says, Eric, don't call yourself a nerd anymore. I'm offended when you do. I mean, I love it. I don't mind it. I don't know. How's the Halloween Horror Nights forecast for Sunday? Looks like it'll be okay. Later and later in the evening, things should quiet down. Wait a minute. Laura says, tell Marquise we're funny and worth it. We will send money for a coffee. You haven't sent me money for a coffee, and I'm here 7 days a week, son. Man, I'm missing out. I should just start holding out. I should just go live and do this. Like, click live and just do this. Oh, my coffee's empty. Send coffee. Pilone. To 1021 North Wymore. Grown adults are like you. Thank you, Yukon. No, do not do that, Laura. Do not do that. I'm teasing you. Do not do that. I'm teasing you. Please do not do that. Please. I 100% am teasing. We got to bribe the newbies to deal with our shenanigans. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah. It's a whole thing. Do not do that either, Laura. I'm just teasing you. I don't want anything from y'all. I want us to just hang out together. That's all. Steph says, be careful what you ask for. I know. Please don't do it, though. Oh, man. All right. That's what I got. Oh, yeah. Also, I forgot yesterday afternoon. I was mowing and totally lost track of time. I will not make that mistake today. Okay? And I apologize for that. I will do better. I will do better. But the yard looks killer, y'all. All right. So we've got storms each and every afternoon. Rain chances probably going to be going up a little bit this weekend. We'll track it. All right? All right. I promise I'll see you at 3:30. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you so much for hanging out for Coffee Talk. I'll see y'all later.